Winter did not wait for its invitation. It arrived without ceremony, driven by a cold wind rolling off Lake Michigan and transforming the Midwest into a landscape of ice and silence. What was expected to be a light brush of flurries became an early-season lake-effect snowstorm that struck with precision and strength, overwhelming towns across Illinois and Indiana. Highways vanished under drifting snow, neighborhoods froze in place, and visibility narrowed to the length of a single car hood. For millions across the Great Lakes region, it was the unmistakable signal that winter had seized control. Through the late evening hours, bands of snow began forming just offshore. At first, they appeared as thin streaks on radar, nothing unusual for a November night. But as cold Arctic air poured southward over the still warm surface of Lake Michigan, the atmosphere shifted. Moisture rose from the lake, absorbed into the frigid air, and condensed into dense clouds packed with snow. What followed was a textbook lake effect setup, the kind meteorologists sometimes study but rarely witness firsthand. The bands refused to move. They locked into place and fed on the warmth of the lake below, producing a conveyor belt of snow that seemed almost mechanical in its efficiency. By midnight, snowfall rates climbed to nearly 2 inches per hour. In the span of a single night, the contrast across the region became dramatic. One community reported nothing more than light flurries, while just a few miles away, another was buried under nearly a foot of snow. Kankakee County in Illinois saw totals push past 12 inches. Across the state line in Lowell and other parts of northwest Indiana, residents measured close to 10 inches before sunrise. In these narrow corridors of intense snowfall, the horizon disappeared completely. Headlights produced only small pools of light, swallowed almost instantly by white. Highways, normally filled with steady night traffic, became frozen labyrinths. Interstate 57, Interstate 65, and United States Route 41 were reduced to single snow-filled pathways, as drifts moved faster than plow trucks could clear them. Gusts of wind reaching 35 to 40 miles per hour pushed snow across the lanes, creating sudden whiteouts that left drivers blind in seconds. Cars spun out. Semis jackknifed across the pavement. Engines stalled in the bitter cold. Hundreds of motorists found themselves stranded with temperatures dropping steadily through the night. State police attempted to reach those in distress, but even emergency vehicles struggled to navigate. Snowplows worked in pairs, carving narrow channels through heavy drifts, while troopers used high-clearance vehicles to reach cars buried along the shoulders. Radio traffic filled with reports of accidents, power outages, and vehicles trapped beneath snowbanks. Officials urged everyone to stay off the roads, warning that even short trips could turn dangerous. Despite their efforts, the storm's intensity made travel nearly impossible. Inside homes across Illinois and Indiana, families faced their own battles. Many awoke to the sound of wind pressing against windows, rattling doors, and sending waves of snow swirling over rooftops. In several neighborhoods, the weight of the snow cut power lines, plunging entire blocks into darkness. Elderly residents relied on space heaters and blankets to maintain warmth. Parents gathered children into living rooms, creating makeshift shelters while waiting for the storm to ease. In the early morning hours, a 68-year-old resident in Illinois stepped outside to clear his driveway, only to discover snow rising past his knees. Without streetlights, his world narrowed to a few feet of visibility. Across the border in Indiana, a single mother held her 2 children close after the power flickered out, listening as the wind howled across the fields. These quiet moments of endurance defined the night as much as the storm itself. Rescue crews adapted quickly. Snowmobiles became vital tools, gliding over drifts where trucks could not pass. Volunteers checked on seniors and delivered blankets and food in neighborhoods cut off by the storm. Plow drivers worked 16-hour shifts, clearing emergency routes first before turning to side streets. In rural areas, farmers used tractors to open paths for neighbors. Though communities were isolated physically, residents refused to face the storm alone. By dawn, response efforts expanded across the region. More than 120 snowplows, supported by dozens of salt trucks, began clearing major roads. The departments of transportation in both Illinois and Indiana coordinated routes so crews could work continuously. National Guard units deployed high-mobility vehicles to reach stranded drivers and transport them to shelters. Governors in both states issued emergency declarations unlocking additional manpower and resources. In Chicago, warming centers opened before temperatures dropped into the low 20s. Across Lake and Cook counties, hundreds of schools closed or moved to remote learning. Power crews spread out across affected counties working to restore electricity where heavy wet snow had snapped branches and downed lines. Along the shoreline of Lake Michigan, Coast Guard teams monitored drifting ice and assisted vessels that had broken loose from their moorings in the storm surge. When the snow finally eased, the damage became visible. Cars lay crushed beneath heavy drifts. Intersections became impassable walls of snow. Trees bowed under the weight of ice, their branches cracking in the morning cold. Streets looked like frozen rivers glistening beneath the pale light. But even in that stillness, the region began to stir. Volunteers formed shovel brigades to clear sidewalks for seniors. Neighbors checked on one another. Pets trapped in garages and yards were rescued. Bit by bit, communities reclaimed their neighborhoods from the storm. Meteorologists described the event as one of the most significant early-season lake-effect storms in more than a decade. They noted that water temperatures on Lake Michigan hovered near 50 degrees, unusually warm for the time of year. That warmth provided the fuel for the storm's rapid development and exceptional snowfall rates. Scientists cautioned that as regional climates shift and lakes retain heat longer into the fall, similar storms may become more frequent. Warmer water means more evaporation and more moisture available for intense, localized snow events. Residents across the Midwest, the lesson was straightforward. Preparedness cannot wait for a first flake to fall. Winter storms are becoming more unpredictable, more intense, and more capable of overwhelming normal routines with little warning. Emergency kits with blankets, radios, batteries, and food can make a critical difference. Full fuel tanks, charged phones, and backup heat sources help bridge the gap when power lines fail. On a broader scale, communities must invest in resilient infrastructure from stronger power grids to expanded plow fleets to meet the challenges of rapidly changing winter weather. As the morning sun rose higher, the sounds of recovery echoed through towns and cities. Shovels scraped against pavement. Plows carved new lanes through thick snow. Children bundled in bright coats built snowmen beside cars still half hidden beneath drifts. Laughter mingled with the hum of engines and the steady crunch of boots. From the quiet farms of Kankakee County to the snow-covered rooftops of northwest Indiana, the region showed its familiar resolve. The first storm of the season is never just snow. It is a test of readiness, a reminder of nature's shifting patterns and a preview of what lies ahead. Yet, in that test, the Midwest displayed what it always has: strength, compassion, and the steady determination to endure. As the day brightened and life slowly returned to the frozen landscape, one truth remained clear. Winter had begun, and the region was ready to face whatever came next.